Hello and welcome to Two Girls in a Pod. I'm Sharon.
I'm Christy.
Always excited to be back.
Oh, yeah.
As always, we always have these conversations, and one of the conversations we've always had is, why are we so stubborn?
I hear that I am, but I don't believe it.
Well, let me tell you. No, we would call it cabezuda. Porque eres cabezuda. We're stubborn people. I don't know if it's by nature that we have that stubbornness or what it is. And it's that stubbornness to not learn a message. I mean, how many times do we have to be hit in the head with something?
We can be beaten over the head with something, but, when you're kind of set in your ways, that's just, I guess, how it is. And I think that we're all kind of that way. We have all these influences and that, and we just kind of
and we were talking about when we were talking about that, like the things, like when we look back on our life, what are some of those things that we were stubborn about that we really didn't need to be stubborn about? And you were talking, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me being stubborn, I don't say that easily. Although I do come by it. Honestly, I have to say, I hear that my grandmother was pretty stubborn.
That took you a hot minute, huh?
Yes. But I think that part of it for me was, or is, I still struggle with, is kind of coming into my own. I'm stubborn about some things, I guess, because I don't feel like I really had a voice to do that when I was younger. I just feel like that, I want things to be a certain way, and then I just, I'm stuck there. I guess that's what happens. So, but I felt like, when I was younger, it was like whatever mom said was what it was. And I mean, I guess that's what it is with parents. But
it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is that. I think that sometimes we, maybe as children, we dig our heels in because we want to be right about one thing, just one thing. Just let me be right about one thing. And oftentimes we're not. And maybe that's what it is. But and then we get into adulthood, and I feel like we do the same thing.
Well, I think we get so used to doing things a certain way and then so it's kind of hard to create a new way of thinking. So, I just think that we get stuck in a rut kind of.
Well, and I guess it's those patterns. I tell people always, we live in patterns. We develop habits, we have patterns, and it's hard to get out of them because they feel so familiar. They feel good and bad at the same time.
Good and bad at the same time, because sometimes when you're trying to create a new habit, it's like, it's like you're stubborn or that, I guess, but you are just so set in how you do it, and it just becomes routine and it's comfortable, even though we may not like the outcome. We may not like the situation, but it's like,
who cares?
We're just doing what we know.
And we talk about stubborn and cabezuda. We realized when we went to Europe that they do gluten different. So we were able to eat different. We felt different. And we'd already been talking about this. And I would tell you, we're having a problem with gluten. We're having a problem with gluten. No. But once again, I think you were in your stubborn phase. But it was really interesting because then we come back and then COVID comes around. And things change.
And we're all excited because Amy's Donuts, which, if y'all don't know, is a local place here in Springs,
delivered.
Yeah, they decided to start up delivery because of COVID.
Bad idea for us. Bad idea. But we thought it was a good idea. So we ordered half a dozen donuts, Thought that's not too bad.
And we suffered.
Oh, did we suffer?
For like 2 or 3 days
it
after
was
that.
Horrible.
Oh my God. My body was just like foreign to me.
Well, it's not only, when you have that, it's like your joints hurt. Your, as you say, you start looking like the donut because you bloat, and it looks like you just go put a donut on you, and it feels so uncomfortable.
Yes. I have this theory after the testing this out, being off of gluten for 2.5 weeks and then coming back and doing that and realizing the difference in my body, that I just think that gluten is probably not a good idea for anybody.
No.
But we know that here in the US, they overuse that. And I mean, there's probably other places that do too, but we know that it's like to make it prettier, to make it fluffier, to make it more buoyant, to make it more,
And trust me, it makes you more fluffy.
Exactly. That's what that's what I say. It's like I start to feel like the dessert. It's like, no, I don't want to feel this.
I feel like a pastry. It is, and it's so bizarre how it took us we were sick for about 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, and just the stomach upset and just
But you just feel miserable.
Yeah.
And so we kind of looked at each other then and said, okay, we got to stop. We can't have pastries. We can't do that. And so that started our journey of really being more conscious and aware of that. So we are pretty close to gluten. We do as good as we can.
At least limiting it. Yeah.
At home, we don't do gluten. Mm-hmm. It was just amazing. We already talked about it. We had been having these conversations. We'd go back and forth. Maybe not. Yeah. I mean, just once again, being stubborn about it because we wanted our pastry. We wanted our pastas. And there's all these alternatives anyway, but.
Well, yeah. And I think that sometimes you don't want that to be the answer. So, you go back and forth for a long time before you actually make the change and realize how much better you feel over time. But I mean, we had already started changing how we were eating and, just getting more exercise and being more physically fit in that. And so it's just, over time you make those changes in that. But I do think we get stubborn about stuff, and we could probably be feeling better way sooner if we would just stop.
How little we listen to our bodies, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
We do not listen to our bodies. It's like our body's telling us something's not good for us. Well, you know what? Maybe it was just that color, or maybe it was, we will rationalize the hell out of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We will just put out there, no, it's this, and we talk ourselves out of stuff.
And sometimes you have to do a process of elimination. And sometimes people, I know we've done this in the past too, try to do too many things at once, and we don't know exactly what was being more effective. So, trying one thing and trying it out and giving it your best shot kind of gives you more direction.
Well, I agree. And you mentioned working out, and I think that was interesting because for me, I had some bad knees. I only have 2 of them. I don't know why I say bad knees. Like I have 6 of them. Only 3 were bad. The other 3 were no. But anyway, So for me, working out, I always had this fear in the back of my head that when I do these things, it's going to cause more damage. It's going to hurt. It's going to on and on and on. Even though all the research I was looking at and what people were talking to me about were saying, you do these exercises, you're going to feel better, all of those things. But then that part of me was there like, no, that kind of hurts.
Mm-hmm. Kind of hurts and don't want to wear out that joint.
But gonna keep using that for the rest of my life.
But the thing is, they do say you can strengthen your knees and that, and people don't realize that.
I knew it, but then there was also that other part of my brain that was being very stubborn.
Yeah.
That was saying, "Oh, but what if it's not?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have a bad knee forever and ever,
You're going to wear it down to the bone."
Really. And who wants that? Mm-hmm. So even for me, it took me a while to then really say, okay, what exercises can I do that are going to strengthen my knees? And then that's what I started. And then that was a gradual thing. And then it was like, oh, look at that. They were right.
Right. Yeah.
But my brain was still saying, they're probably not, at first. And I think that happens a lot. I think people sit there and try, once again, we rationalize the crap out of things.
Well, there's certain things that we think are truths about ourselves that we just accept as that, and we don't think that we can change them, that it's not within our power. I mean, I grew up not athletic at all, was not exposed to anything like that. I didn't play
Let's
any
talk a
sports.
little bit about your dietary.
Oh God. So yeah, I grew up on a menu like, Cheese Whiz and Hostess cupcakes and things like that. I loved Pop Tarts.
So when you're eating stuff like that, do you really feel like you're going to want to work out anyway or be athletic?
No, and people don't realize that you're kind of setting yourself up for failure when you're, that's what you're taking in, and you feel drained and tired, and you don't know why. I think a lot of people, oh, I didn't get enough sleep or something like that, and no, a lot of times it's what you're putting in your body that makes you feel draggy and sluggish, or even just, I'll even say now, if I have a lot of sugar, that the next day I'm like, I don't want to move.
Well, and you know what's interesting is because early on when we were together, you would make comments like that. I'm not athletic. I don't do this. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to throw a ball, really. I don't, and definitely didn't know how to kick a ball. Took her to the gym one day and we were playing kickball.
Yeah. That wasn't my thing.
No, ball comes right to her and totally missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do that.
Like, let's try again. She was like, no. But I think that's what it is sometimes when you do those things and it's not something you can do, once again, that stubborn piece says, I just can't do it, so I'm not going to try it again. It's not for me.
I didn't have the confidence to do that. I think that when I was younger, if anything, I probably could have gotten into volleyball, but I didn't. That wasn't something that was pursued. I didn't take PT even in school. I was excused.
I love that.
What?
I didn't take PT because you did not want to either.
No, I didn't. I didn't have the confidence, like I said, to do anything like that. I didn't. Wasn't exposed to anything like that. So, and they had me excused for religious purposes. So I didn't even have to do that.
And I think, you said that, our past kind of helps dictate some of that. And I think it does. I was a complete opposite. I grew up, we were baling hay and irrigating and chasing after animals. So being active was not an option to not be active. There were days I just didn't want to be active. But yeah, that didn't happen. Obviously things still needed to be done. And we were the hired help.
I was the only girl, and I wasn't expected to work outside, really. I mean, I remember I could probably count on one hand how many times I was supposed to go out and mow the lawn, and I hated it. And I would tell him, I will clean the house from top to bottom. Please don't make me go out there and do that.
And then she came into my family system, which my parents did not know those rules of yours. So she comes in and let's see, you learned how to go up into the mountains, get wood, because we had wood burning stove, and get some wood. You learned how to work out in the fields and haul stuff and
doing irrigation and burning ditches and all kinds of things.
But guess what? She found out she could do it.
I learned a lot about myself. Yeah. And still, I mean, even over all those years, still expanding on that. I mean, when I was younger, the most physical thing was skating for me, roller skating. I loved it. And, even as an adult, I've gone a few times. I still enjoy it. So.
Yeah, me and roller skating aren't friends. And I keep saying to myself, well, are you going to ever try that again? And then I sit there and try to talk myself into it. But remember, I have bad knees now.
I want to keep them going.
But no, I think it is that. I think, so much of the time we get stubborn, but we don't even realize we're stubborn because of what we've been taught. Mm-hmm. So that becomes our pattern. And then we get stuck in those things. And then we will sit there and well, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. And we'll fight and argue about it. And we'll justify it. And sometimes
it's things that we learn from our parents modeling and things like that, because even like my mom, I remember she had knee replacement surgery. She had a couple back surgeries, things like that. And of course, physical therapy follows those things, and then she was having the issues with the liver and stuff like that, and they were talking about changing her eating habits and about even just getting more exercise, even just, walking and things like that. But I remember this one doctor telling her, we need to make you like an athlete. And the expression on her face, she just thought that was such a joke. And, I mean, I get that. And I don't remember what her age was at that point or whatever, but she thoroughly believed that she couldn't have that kind of power. And I think, sometimes we see that in them, and it's easy to fall into that kind of belief, I think.
Well, and I think it's easy to get, I think it's easy for people with their belief systems about themselves or others to defend that,
Yeah.
even if it's not true or if it's detrimental to them. After your mom's surgeries and stuff like that, we would say, okay, come on, let's go for walks. Let's do this. And, sometimes I'll be there like, no, you got to walk 10 steps, 10 steps, and I think that even for her with that, so we'd kind of go back and forth a little bit, but she'd eventually do her 10 steps because I wasn't going to go anywhere. I stood there. I said, okay, we'll just stand here. That was me being stubborn, but it really was that thing of do what's going to make you better. And I know, because I was coming from a place of not doing that because of my knees and stuff, so I understood that. I understood that mentality of, oh, that's going to hurt, or that might hurt more than, it's all this crazy, I think, that we put into our heads to try to, once again, we get stubborn, we get stuck, or maybe we're stubborn about changing, but we get stubborn, I think, because we get stuck.
Yeah.
If that makes more sense.
I think so. And I think that sometimes things has to happen to spur us to really make those necessary changes instead of digging our heels in. And I know one of the things for me when I started changing as far as what I was already working out and stuff like that, but I had found out that I had a cyst. And that
stubborn. Let's talk about stubborn.
Yeah. I kept thinking that I just got some blow, stuff like that. My stomach was extended and
this was her. Let's go to the store and let's get some of those cleanse things. I'm there like, girl, you done cleanses. You done this. I said, there's something wrong here.
I was working out and I wasn't losing weight. And
I'm telling her, you got to go to the doctor. No, I don't. I just got to keep working out more. I've got to do this. I'm thinking, you're doing all that. Something ain't right here.
Well, what was interesting is that I didn't have any pain. There wasn't any pain, but I remember when I was trying to do some of my exercises and that, if I would lay down on my stomach, I mean, it was like pressure was the only way I could describe it. But I just thought, I guess I just need to do more.
I'm telling you, everything. We're doing everything. And I'm there like, finally, you need to go to the doctor because this is not normal. Your stomach should not look like that.
So I did, and it was a good thing that I did because I had, like I said, a cyst, and it was 18 pounds.
Yes, so when they removed that and the doctor showed the picture of that, I'm there like, oh my goodness, she just gave birth to an 18-pound blob. And I was there like, how do you not know that's in there? But once again, you were being stubborn.
I was being stubborn, yeah. But so that was a huge shock. But from that moment, I mean, I had my surgery and, I was in the hospital for, I don't know how many days.
Not very long. 2 or 3.
And they said, you have to get up and move. You have got to walk. You've got to, they were telling me these things that I needed to do to recover. And my mom saw this process, and I remember she kept saying she was amazed because anytime they would say about getting out of that bed and doing the walks and that, I would do it. And I mean, I had a huge incision down my stomach. And I was determined that I was going to do it anytime that they said about doing it.
And the interesting thing about you is you're stubborn, not just about that, but you can be stubborn even about your workouts. Now, you kind of sometimes you're a little extreme.
I like to have a regimen and I like to get into my groove and stay there.
Yeah. And then every once in a while say, but I think you should work a little bit. No. But no, that was a really good example of that stubbornness. And for me, I got high blood pressure and but I didn't want to take medicine. So I'm stubborn when it comes to medicine. I don't like it. It doesn't, oftentimes it does not react well to me. I know what she's going to say.
Uh-huh. So how many times did we go to the doctor and then the doctor prescribes something and we go fill the prescription and get it home and you read about it and say, I'm not taking that.
Well, and in my defense, sometimes I really didn't, not like antibiotics or things like that. There were certain things that I just wasn't using.
If you knew it was a steroid when we went to fill it, why are we filling the prescription? That's what I wanted to know.
Well, that's my stubbornness. I'll admit it. But, when it came to when it came to like my blood pressure and she said, we need to put you on that really low dose of the medication. I'm there like, I don't want it. And I'm horrible about remembering to take it too. That's the other thing. I don't do well with that routine, obviously. But I said, okay. And then she said, if you don't want to take it, lose weight. I'm there like, ooh, well, that's kind of harsh, but okay, let me see. But it was true. I didn't want to take the med but I couldn't be stubborn both ways. You know what I mean? I couldn't not take the med and not work out and do those things. So I did. I ended up saying, I took the med for a little while and then I said, I don't want to do this. So started to do the stuff I had to. So now I don't have to be on a medication. So I'm very happy about that.
And it takes a while to implement a new routine and get there. And I mean, it takes a lot of self-talk too.
It does. And I think the thing is once again, I guess I would say I'm borderline on stubborn when it comes to medications, but a lot of meds don't agree with me very well. Pain meds don't agree with me.
And my problem isn't you taking the meds or not taking the meds. Don't take the meds, but let's not go fill the prescription and sit it in a drawer.
Okay, since she told me that we have not filled one of those prescriptions, I will just simply tell the doctor I'm not going to take it. Yeah. Is it? And I'll ask him, do I have to, or can I? And they'll tell me if I can do something else. I will do something else.
Yeah.
So now I just don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, give me that prescription. I'll go fill it and pay my $30. Put it in the drawer. I don't do that. I haven't done that in a long time.
Thank goodness.
But once again, that's that stubbornness, I think, about us, or that I'm baffled as to how our mind works sometimes.
Yeah, it's like we have to ease into something and get into a whole thing of trying to rewire what, our train of thought.
Exactly. And I guess sometimes, and I even work on this with my clients because sometimes they will dig their heels in about certain things. And I always ask them, is this that battle you want to fight?
Mm-hmm.
Because they get stubborn about it. They're going to respect me, or we don't get to do that. We don't get to make people, but we're trying to force things and we stay stubborn, or we stay, and like I said, stuck, maybe even. And what is it providing for you? And when we're being stubborn, and sometimes even now, we'll kind of challenge each other on that. Well, what is that? How's that working for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes, the answer is no. It's not working for you. That's why you need to change something. But it's like getting past that. And it does. It takes time. You just have to, like I said, keep working on your thinking around it and why you hold on to it so tightly.
And I think the other thing is when you see somebody that you love who is being stubborn about something that is detrimental to them, like in a bad way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you sit there and say, why are you doing this? But you can't tell him, change for me because that doesn't work. People
No.
don't change for other people. Because if you do that, then it's not sustained. We've had these conversations with your mom. My dad could be a little stubborn, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
My mom would probably say he was a lot stubborn. But he could be stubborn about some things.
Mhm.
You know, he would be the type who, if he was just done at the doctor's, you know, was like, okay, I'm leaving. You can't leave. You're in a gown. Where are you going in a gown? Well, I don't, no, we're not leaving. And so, you know, several conversations, but he eventually would say, okay,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But even to have those moments and you're thinking, why is this important?
Mm-hmm. And it's such a, you cut off your nose to spite your face, as they say, because it's like, you're not improving by staying where you are, but, you just think you've got it figured out.
And I imagine everybody out there, you have either you're the stubborn one or you have people in your life who are stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes it can be difficult to navigate those things.
Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot about your stubbornness. No, you've gotten way better.
I think so.
You really have. Early on, not so much. Stubborn. Whew. But I understand why. You know what I mean? I understand. I think if we can look at somebody's history, sometimes we get a better idea of where people are coming from.
Mm-hmm. That's what I say. I mean, I felt like when I was younger, I didn't have much of a voice, but I feel like that because I do now, I just.
And you know how you know when you're being stubborn? You do the eye roll.
Oh, well, that's always been a thing.
Got you in a lot of trouble, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. It did.
And even now, you don't even do that very much anymore.
Really?
Only once or twice a day, no. But
Yeah.
it is. It's like, and that's when I know, when you do that is when I know you're in that place of being stubborn, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have to walk away. And I always tell you, I'm always so impressed on this evolution that I've seen with you in the years that I've known you. The growth, and you have moved away from that stubbornness because I think it kept you stuck. That was almost like, I'm going to dig my heels in and I'm going to show you can't boss me, or I'm going to show you can't. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Even though that's not a conscious thought, it's just, but yeah, I mean, I understand why you say that.
But I think when you sit down with it, and I always tell people, sit down with and think about, well, where's that come? Why am I having this anyway?
I think that, we talk about practicing the pause all the time, and you really have to do that. I know I've had to do that. I have to step away and sometimes just reflect on the conversation. What was being said there? Why did I feel that? What were you really trying to say? I can do that a little bit better now.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things, because we're always talking about on here about the importance of communication, connectedness, and all of those things. Those things are what help us get past that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be stubborn. And there are some things I think that we should be stubborn about. But to not be stubborn if it's going to be something that's going to be detrimental to you physically, spiritually, or emotionally, I just don't understand that. That's where I say that's getting in our way. Some things we have to be stubborn about. If it is our health and they're trying to tell you to, I was really impressed with you when you were talking to the doctor and he was really pushing you. He was really pushing your buttons this last week.
Oh, the doctor with my mom.
Really pushing you. And I could see that building in you. Physically, I could see it building in you until you told him, I will not make that decision today.
Yep.
And I bet he's probably thinking, oh my God, she is being stubborn.
Might have.
But you know what I mean? Because he was trying to make you budge on something you're not comfortable budging on. And
yeah, we'd already had 2 or 3 conversations, and I felt like that he was down to this was the last conversation I was having with him, and he was like, putting the pressure on, and I'm like, no, I am not going to make that decision today.
But once again, I think in his mind, and maybe not, that's an assumption, but it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
When in listening to this conversation, it almost felt like he thought you were being stubborn.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself and, saying what you want or that, but
Well, that was
understanding that we're always in a learning process too.
well, and I think that was where this little segue was going into is that identifying when you're standing up for yourself is being very different than being stubborn about something.
Right.
But I think sometimes people will, because I've seen this, in these years I've done this, whether I was in school, working in schools or whatever, I would see people saying, "Oh, that kid's being stubborn." No, they're setting a boundary. They're saying, "No, I'm not going to do that."
Mhm.
And oftentimes, what I think, oftentimes with kids, what you often see is people identifying them as being stubborn
Mhm.
when they're saying no to something or I don't want to do that or, well, you're just being stubborn.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. And I think we have to be able to identify when we're being stubborn and when we're standing up for, we're setting a boundary, standing up for ourselves or those kind of things.
Well, I think one of the telltale signs too, you have to realize when you're being stubborn about something, it's often that you're not listening.
And it feels argumentative.
Yeah. You'll be a lot of times formulating your answer before you've even heard what the person is saying. So I think that that's where the stubborn comes in because we're anticipating what that person's going to say and we think we already have the answer. And so it's that lack of listening, I think.
And it's that thing of, and I don't want to say right and wrong but that's almost what it feels like.
Mhm.
I'm stubborn. I know the answer to this and you're not going to change the answer to this. And because I've seen that with little kids too.
Yeah.
I've seen when they're stubborn and dig their heels in. Even, it's like, you do know that's the wrong, no, it's not. And you're having this conversation.
And with parents, you just have to pick the battle.
Really. But I think that's what I'm saying. I think that being able to discern between the two is really important. But I know, even for us, and there's a lot of things we don't indulge in like we used to. We don't indulge in alcohol like we used to because we don't like the way it feels. And yeah, okay, maybe the universe took about 3 or 4 times early on in our life, when we were together, just, pounded into our heads, this isn't good for you. So then it was like, you know what? I don't feel good with it. So why am I doing it?
Mm.
I don't. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that is a learning thing too. When you're younger, it's a little bit different. And as you age, alcohol and things like that sometimes do not react the same as it used to in your body.
Your
And then
recovery period changes.
your recovery period changes. Well, not only that, I think that when you are in the process of doing other things to make yourself more healthy, I think that when you go and do some of those things that maybe aren't so healthy, you feel the impact even more so. I mean, it is noticeable in a
And
different way.
And we don't do a whole lot of sugar either. We had to kind of got rid of sugar because it was not agreeing with the same thing. We were feeling you with sugar, you feel sluggish. You do that, but once again, that was another thing we were a little stubborn about.
Mm-hmm.
And we were stubborn because we liked the taste of it. We love, my big thing was pastries, and so I was truly sad when I could not have pastries anymore.
Yeah, and I think that people don't realize that you make some adjustments in that, and it's not like we don't ever indulge in sugar. We've just, minimized
Oh, wait.
some of that.
But I am so happy because now they make amazing gluten-free desserts and stuff. So we still get to indulge in all that. But even with that, we don't indulge in a lot because then we sit there and we say, okay, how is that going to impact our workout? Or how is that going to, and even, the whole process of working out, that's something that is such a journey for us. We're definitely not where we want to be, but we're closer to it than we were.
Exactly. Everything is a learning process. And I mean, if you're stubborn about something and you think that this is the only way to do it, you just, like I say, kind of set yourself up for failure. But I think that if you're willing to research it and see the different things that work, whether it be about a workout or the way you eat or, whatever it is.
And I think the other place that we get stubborn in is when we have an idea about what we think is right. There are people who will pound that in and pound it. And I always tell people, if you believe it, don't get stubborn about it. You'll see them going back and forth in these conversations about what ways my way's the right way, and but it might not be for the other person, but we get so fixated on what we think we know that we don't listen. That's what you were saying, when you're not listening. And I think that's where I see a lot of that even in my office too, or just in relationships in general, is that they get into that thing of, whether it's be vegan or vegetarian or, this, that, or the other, or drink 6-pack a week, or it doesn't matter. Well, I drink a shot of whiskey a day and that was what keeping me healthy. And that's what you need to do. And they get stubborn in that because once again, and then it becomes that thing of you keep pushing the buttons and you keep pushing the buttons because when I am stubborn, once again, I am not listening. If I am not listening, I am not learning.
Mm-hmm.
I am not truly hearing. And it's, oh, hey, that works for you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
If you want to be a carnivore, awesome.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
And understand that everybody's practice may not be your practice that, that works best for you. I mean, that can be with anything. I mean, you see people that are very staunch in their religious beliefs and that, and you see that maybe their relationships aren't great because of that piece of it. And I know I have seen that. I have grown up with that. But I have been on a journey of a spiritual journey, I feel like,
Yes.
where that, and there are people that, when something feels like it's been shoved down your throat for many, many years, that will completely be in such rejection of that they kind of stunt their own growth in finding their own path. And I really feel like that does happen with people. And I'm grateful that, I can take from some of the things I learned growing up, but I also feel like that I am in such a much better place spiritually now.
But there's also politics. There's so many things that once again we dig our heels in and we get stubborn about it. And it doesn't matter where our beliefs are. What matters is when we can be respectful of those things. But when I'm being stubborn, I cannot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can dig your heels in, but you can understand if you can pause from that and understand that those people have to do what's right for them, and you can do what's right for you.
And, are we going to still be stubborn about things? Absolutely.
We're human.
Yeah. And sometimes it's little stupid things too. We get stubborn about, we have our little stupid things we get stubborn about. And it's one of those things, you have that conversation. And I think it's really what you said is when you realize that you're not listening to the conversation, then, you walk away from it and then you get a chance to pause and think about it. And, I always think therapeutically, that's what's happening, when I'm in the office with my clients and we're talking about these things and I always tell them, all you have to do is think about it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they will come back and say, I didn't realize that, like I was digging my heels in, like I was being stubborn about this, and I didn't realize how my being stubborn was actually more harmful for me than helpful for the other person that I was being stubborn with. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes, once again, it's about trying to change somebody else's, whether it be their thought pattern or whatever it is that you're working on changing in somebody else.
Definitely.
And I always love when they come and we have those conversations, because I know that is that growth. Mm-hmm. And when we're able to listen to other people's ideas, when we're able to, I was having a conversation with my client yesterday and he goes, well, how do you do? I said, because I removed myself. Mm-hmm. I said, you have to not, once I start engaging in that fashion, then that's where sometimes that stubbornness or that being stuck, gets involved. And I think that's why it's important to continue to talk. And also, I think, one of the other things we do on a daily basis is our gratitude. And the reason we do our gratitude is because sometimes that helps us get away from that stubborn.
It does. When you shift to gratitude, I feel like that it presents a whole new way of thinking.
You don't have to stay, I feel like you don't have to stay stuck, and you don't feel that need to be stubborn about things. And being stubborn means you are holding on to something.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I tell people, what are you holding on to and whose idea is it really? Is it somebody else's belief or idea or whatever that you've taken on as your own? And now you're holding on to it. And sometimes I think that's why it doesn't feel good, or because you're trying to prove a point. But sometimes that does not do it. You know, sometimes it takes us longer to learn. Like I said, you know, we're guilty of that too. I'm telling you, those Amy's Donuts did it in for us. But I think that's when we really realized that we knew it, but we were being stubborn in that we were trying to modify and change our thinking. No, it really wasn't that. You know, that was another donut. This is Amy's Donuts. Amy's Donuts must be different than these donuts, or you know what I'm saying? We will do that.
Or maybe if I just have one. But we didn't stop at one. We had like 1.5.
Well, and we even said that after we had this. This is us. Even after we had that horrible experience, fast forward, I don't know, maybe a year, and they're like, maybe if it's half. And then we both looked at each other like, oh, no, not even half.
No, what we ended up doing was having pancakes.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was as bad as the donuts.
I forgot about that. That was horrible.
Uh-huh.
But once again, it's only donuts. We can have pancakes. You know,
guess what? There's gluten in pancakes.
And it felt, that was another one, felt horrible. And I remember I had to work with Amy's Donuts when I had to work, and I had Amy's Donuts. I was just there thinking, oh my God, you know, the camera already adds poundage to you. I already feel like I have the donut wrapped around me. What does that look like?
Your clothes barely fit.
Yeah, you have to go and get those big, it reminds me of the Santa Claus movie when he's gaining the weight and he's in his sweatsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Got stung by a bee. That's
Yeah.
what it was. A big bee. Because that's what it feels like.
Right.
It feels like you just go, bloop.
Yeah.
What are those fish that do that?
The puffer fish.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm happy to say that is one area that we are no longer.
Lesson finally learned, I think.
Yes. But, you know, it's not just in, you know, it's in any of those things, you know, and we think that, and I don't know, maybe people don't call it stubborn. Maybe y'all have a different word for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe it is feeling stuck, and maybe you don't feel stuck. Maybe you just like what you like, even though it's not good for you. So you know, I don't know.
But the problem is if you feel bad afterwards, I'm guessing something needs to change.
But, you know, we had to feel bad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 times.
Yeah.
You know, and now, you know, if we feel those little lumps or whatever, we don't wait till they get 18 pounds.
No.
I do my walking because I don't want to take that medicine. So here we are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the thing is it's all a journey, and we're on this journey and we're trying to figure it all out, and we're going to be stubborn sometimes. But I guess for me, I'm learning to pick and choose my battles of what I'm going to be stubborn about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we have to have patience with ourselves for sure.
And we're very excited because we have just gone to video cast, and Christy's going to explain all that to you because I don't do that as well.
So the video cast will be showing on Spotify, and it will also be available on YouTube. We have our YouTube channel, which is Adventures of Two Girls in a Pod Life's Journey. And you are welcome to subscribe to our channel.
We'd greatly appreciate it. You know, it's a new venture for us, and we're very excited about it. And we're excited for you all to join us. We're also posting questions, and we'd appreciate if you guys, you know, interact with us. Get to know us. Let us get to know you.
And
We
of
really
course,
look forward to it.
as always, we're on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah, and, you know, we really appreciate everybody's support. And, you know, like I said, if you're going to be stubborn, pick and choose wisely. And other than that, thank you guys so much for joining us. We always appreciate it. And we will be back.
Thanks.
Have a great week.
Bye.